what are the young people telling you? When you see the young people protesting, uprising in your country, in Mozambique, what are they telling you? It's not a question of how China has become advanced in the last 40 years or how AI will have an impact in our lives. But specifically, my question is, respectfully again, is what are you seeing, what are you feeling when you see young people do the uprising? We're beginning to see risking their lives and so many young people, Africans, dying in their own countries. Thank you.
That, of course, I was trying to answer maybe in a longer way, but yes, it's not just Kenya or Mozambique. Political challenges exist virtually in all countries in the world. It's not only in Africa. You'll find demonstrations in Colombia. You will find the other time in France, they were burning tires on the streets in Paris, and so on and so forth. So every country has got its political challenges. It's not only in Africa. It is all over the world. And those political challenges can be resolved within those countries themselves. You need to address the issues that the youth are raising. Like in Kenya, they are talking about the cost of living. They're talking about unemployment in Kenya. They're talking about corruption. You see, they talk about ethnic discrimination, things like those. So those are challenges that can be resolved within the context of Kenyan society. The same thing in Mozambique. They are talking about the elections. Elections have just been held, and some people believe that they are probably not as transparent. That there were some kind of cheating, probably in the process of announcement of results. That happens in virtually every society. You saw it in the U.S. the other time. People marching to the Congress, storming the Congress. So it is not only happening in Africa. It's happening all over the world, and there are solutions to those problems.
Thank you, thank you. And the very last question, let's have the gentleman there.
Right Honorable Dr. Raila Amolo Odinga, former Prime Minister, Republic of Kenya, and candidate of African Union chairmanship. I have an important question. How would you prioritize address African continental free trade area AfCFTA implementation? How do you strengthen African voice in global governance and international relations? What's your approach to negotiating partnership with external actors such as the EU, China, and the US? How do you promote African interests in global forums like UN and G20? Regarding SATM?
Sorry, I said one question at a time.
Okay,
thank you.
I need to add one question. How do you advance the implementation of the single African air transport market, SATM, to boost connectivity and economic integration? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, one is the African Free Trade Area agreement. This is now getting to be three years old, but it still has not had the impact that was required. The inter-African trade still has not moved much from 15%. As you know, the inter-European trade stands at 70%. Inter-Asian trade is at 50%. Even in South American is over 30%. So we know the factors. One is the infrastructure. And this is something that we want to fast track so that we can have infrastructure opening up the borders across the continent. And secondly, the non-tariff barriers that have been imposed by member states of the continent. And this again is something that we need to address. As you know, there is a reform of the AU process which is ongoing. It was literally led by the president of Rwanda, Mr. Kagame. Kagame has written a report which has now been handed over to the new chair, President William Ruto of Kenya. And we were with President Ruto here 2 days ago when we talked to the diplomats here about these challenges and how these reforms can be carried out. If these reforms are carried out, they will enable the AU to deal with these issues, and we can be able to raise the inter-African trade from what it is today to 40%, which is what is being aimed at by 2030. It's the same thing now. It will then also help us in dealing with our other trading partners, that is the EU and also China and even the US. You see, US, you have got AGOA, which has been ongoing, and we think that we need to improve on AGOA. The EU, we also have been negotiating and scale up the negotiations so that the trade can be more fairer in favor of Africa. You see, for example, you take just a simple item, coffee. You see, coffee is produced primarily in Africa and in South America. But we find that the European country, I will not mention which one, earns more out of coffee than all these coffee-producing countries, Brazil and Africa, put together. So, because the auction center, it's not in Africa or South America, it is somewhere in Europe. How do you change this so that the African coffee producers can benefit? There are so many other things that we need to negotiate so that we get a fair deal on the international market generally. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw one.